Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2887 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom Trek is Shattering the Shackles of the Rebel Gods. In our previous episode on this grand historical journey, we scaled the opening heights of the Great Hallel, Psalm 136, verses 1 through 9. We immersed our minds in the grand cosmic architecture of creation. We stood in the celestial courtroom, and we shouted our praise to the God of gods and the Lord of lords, the absolute, supreme sovereign who rules over the entire heavenly host. We saw how His Hesed, His fierce, unyielding, and covenant-keeping faithful love was the precise engine that skillfully forged the heavens, pinned down the chaotic primordial waters beneath the dry land, and masterfully organized the sun, moon, and stars to govern our days and nights. We learned that the very fabric of physical reality is held together every single microsecond by this enduring, loyal affection. Today, the Grand Temple Liturgy takes a dramatic, breathtaking turn. The congregation is still standing in the sunlit courts of Jerusalem, and the antiphonal chant continues to echo off the stone walls. But the focus of the song shifts away from the creation of the cosmos and steps directly onto the blood-soaked soil of human history. We are exploring Psalm 136, verses 10 through 16 in the New Living Translation. The psalmist demonstrates that Yahweh's faithful love is not just an abstract, distant force that manages the stars. It is an active, aggressive, and liberating power that breaks into our physical reality to rescue His people, crush abusive empires, and violently dismantle the rebel spiritual principalities who hold humanity in bondage. Let us step onto this historic section of the trail, listen to the thunderous roar of the refrain, and watch the divine warrior march to war. The first segment is the decapitation of the Egyptian pantheon. Psalm 136. Verses 10, 11, and 12. Give thanks to Him who killed the firstborn of Egypt. His faithful love endures forever. He brought Israel out from among them. His faithful love endures forever. He acted with a strong hand and powerful arm. His faithful love endures forever. The historical narrative explodes into the liturgy with a shocking, deeply unsettling declaration of judgment. Give thanks to Him who killed the firstborn of Egypt. His faithful love endures forever. To the modern Western mind, linking the death of the Egyptian firstborn with the phrase, His faithful love endures forever, sounds like a massive moral contradiction. How can an act of mass fatality be described as an expression of love? To resolve this tension, we must view the Exodus through the profound lens of the ancient Israelite Divine Council worldview as masterfully taught by Dr. Michael S. Heiser. We must look back to the cosmic geography of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, where the nations were disinherited by Yahweh and handed over to the jurisdiction of lesser spiritual beings, the sons of God. Egypt was the premier, terrifying superpower of the ancient world, operating under the direct, dark inspiration of these corrupt, territorial Elohim. Pharaoh was not viewed merely as a human politician. He was worshipped as an incarnate God, the living proxy, and the physical avatar of the rebel principalities. For 400 years, under the direction of these dark forces, Egypt systematically crushed, enslaved, and attempted to completely erase Yahweh's personal allotment, the family of Israel. The book of Exodus explicitly states that the plagues were not just a leverage play against human economics, they were an open, aggressive execution of judgment against all the gods of Egypt. When the Lord struck down the firstborn, He was striking the ultimate legal root of the empire's legacy and divine claims. The firstborn son represented the strength, the inheritance, and the future succession of the household and the throne. By taking the firstborn, Yahweh broke the spiritual backbone of the rebel principalities. He proved that the Egyptian gods were entirely impotent, completely unable to protect their own biological and spiritual lineages from the superior authority of the Creator. For the oppressed slaves, this act of terrifying justice was the ultimate manifestation of Hesed. Love for the victim requires the decisive execution of justice against the abusive tyrant. The text records the immediate glorious consequence in verses 11 and 12. He brought Israel out from among them. He acted with a strong hand and powerful arm. The language of the strong hand and powerful arm is a direct, deliberate polemic against the royal propaganda of Egypt. Pharaoh's monuments always depicted him with an outstretched arm, crushing his enemies. But the psalmist clears the field, declaring that Pharaoh's arm was easily snapped by the true divine warrior. Yahweh reached into the dark, heavily fortified territory of the rebel council, grabbed his treasured possession, and physically wrenched them free from the grip of the superpower. He broke the chains of the empire, proving that no spiritual principality can legally hold a prisoner when the supreme commander issues a warrant for their release. The second segment is Slicing the Abyss and Shaking Off the Tyrant. Psalm 136, verses 13, 14, and 15. Give thanks to him who parted the Red Sea. His faithful love endures forever. He led Israel safely through. His faithful love endures forever. But he hurled Pharaoh and his army into the Red Sea. His faithful love endures forever. The historical procession moves from the borders of Egypt directly to the edge of the impossible. Give thanks to him who parted the Red Sea. He led Israel safely through, but he hurled Pharaoh and his army into the Red Sea. Once again, the congregation responds to each movement of the narrative with the unyielding, rhythmic drumbeat of faith. His faithful love endures forever. To fully appreciate the cosmic drama of this moment, we must understand how the ancient world viewed the geography of the sea. In the biblical and ancient Near Eastern mindset, the deep, wild, and untamed waters of the ocean, known as Yam, represented the terrifying forces of primordial chaos. The sea was considered a chaotic deity, a dark, churning abyss that swallowed human lives and actively fought against the ordered creation of the Almighty. When Israel stood trapped between the advancing chariots of Pharaoh and the roaring waves of the Red Sea, they were caught between the twin jaws of death, the physical might of the empire, and the spiritual chaos of the abyss. But Yahweh executed a masterclass of cosmic subversion. He didn't just build a bridge over the sea, he violently parted the waters. The literal Hebrew text says, he sliced the sea into distinct pieces. He drove back the chaotic deep, carved a highway right through the middle of the abyss, and transformed the very realm of death into a dry, safe corridor of life for his covenant family. He led them safely through, insulating them from the walls of water on either side. Then in verse 15, the trap slams shut, but he hurled Pharaoh and his army into the Red Sea. The Hebrew word for hurled is na'ar, which carries the visceral, graphic meaning of shaking off a bug or flipping dirt off your clothes. This is a brilliant, mocking piece of historical sarcasm. Pharaoh had mobilized the entire military-industrial complex of the ancient world, hundreds of iron chariots, elite horsemen, and weapons of terror. It was an intimidating display of imperial pride. But to the creator of the cosmos, this terrifying army was nothing more than an annoying insect crawling on his sleeve. With one effortless flick of his wrist, Yahweh simply shook Pharaoh off into the water. The tyrant who had arrogantly commanded that every Hebrew baby boy be drowned in the Nile River was himself drowned, along with his entire army, in the very chaos waters that his rebel gods claimed to control. The empire was swallowed by the abyss, completely neutralized and buried beneath the waves, providing an eternal, undeniable proof that the loyal Hesed of Yahweh will violently overthrow any system that attempts to destroy his children. The third segment is the Shepherd of the Wasteland. Psalm 136, verse 16. Give thanks to him who led his people through the wilderness. His faithful love endures forever. The section concludes by moving the liberated community away from the shores of victory and into the long, grueling reality of the desert. Give thanks to him who led his people through the wilderness. His faithful love endures forever. In the ancient Israelite worldview, the wilderness, the Midbar, was not just an empty, quiet desert. It was recognized as uncreated space, a desolate land of spiritual danger and geographic chaos. It was viewed as the literal domain of dark spirits, predatory beasts, and demonic forces, completely outside the safe, ordered boundaries of civilization. It was a place of testing, hunger, and vulnerability, where a human population could easily vanish into oblivion without a trace. Yet, the psalmist records that Yahweh led his people through this hostile environment. He didn't abandon them to the elements, and he didn't let the dark forces of the desert consume them. He he became their personal shepherd. He covered them with a pillar of cloud by day to shield them from the blistering judgment heat of the sun, and he comforted them with a pillar of fire by night to push back the terrifying shadows of the wilderness. He split open the hard rocks to flood the desert with sweet water, and he rained down bread from heaven to satisfy their hunger. When the congregation chants, "His faithful love endures forever," after this verse, they are acknowledging that the wilderness season was not an absence of God's love, but the very staging ground for its ultimate expression. The Hesed of Yahweh is durable enough to navigate the most parched, desperate chapters of our history. He doesn't just deliver us from Egypt and leave us to figure out the rest on our own. He walks with us through the wasteland, step by step, transforming our place of vulnerability into a sanctuary of divine intimacy and preparation. The fourth segment is walking confidently through the deep waters. Psalm 136 verses 10 through 16 provides us with a magnificent, unyielding shield of historical data to protect our minds against the anxieties of our modern walk. It teaches us that our God is a deliverer who actively enters the timeline of our lives to break the power of our oppressors. The corrupt systems of our modern culture, the toxic habits that attempt to hold us in bondage, and the dark spiritual principalities that exploit our weaknesses are completely helpless when the strong hand and the powerful arm of the divine warrior is extended on our behalf. As you walk your trek today, train your soul to adopt the rhythmic, resilient focus of the Great Hallel. When you look back at the dark, painful chapters of your past, your own personal Egypt, do not look at them with shame or terror. Look at them through the lens of redemption. See the moments where your king stepped into your brokenness, cut the cords of your captivity, and shook off the power of your enemies. If you are currently standing at the edge of an impossible situation, facing a modern Red Sea with walls of anxiety closing in on every side, look to the splitter of the abyss. Trust that his faithful love is actively carving a safe highway through the middle of your chaos. And if you find yourself walking through a dry, lonely wilderness season of life, feeling emotionally parched or spiritually tested, take comfort in the presence of your shepherd. You are not lost, and you are not abandoned to the dark forces of the wasteland. Put your absolute hope in his unshakable word. Brace your mind with the rhythmic assurance of his enduring covenant affection, and walk forward with the steady, joyful stride of a soul that has been permanently set free by the maker of heaven and earth. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, creating a legacy. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day, every day. Join me next time for more daily wisdom.